30 years since it first happened, and we're still arguing about it. 5 simple words that became the most contentious phrase in sitcom history. We were on a break. But here's the thing that might upset half of you watching this. Ross was right.
We were on a break. We were on a break. We were on a break. We were on a break.
Look, I know what I just said is fighting words for a lot of you. The Ross and Rachel break debate has transcended Friends itself. It's become shorthand for relationship gray areas, for miscommunication, for the fundamental question of when a relationship actually ends. Today, I'm going to walk you through why, despite Ross's many, many flaws, he was technically correct. They were on a break. And before you close this video in protest, hear me out. Because being technically correct doesn't mean he was morally right. To understand how we got to that fateful night, we need to talk about the power dynamics that defined Ross and Rachel from day one. For the first 2 seasons, Ross held all the cards. He was the established professional, a PhD paleontologist with a steady career at the museum. Rachel? She was a runaway bride turned coffee shop waitress, learning how to make it on her own for the first time in her life. Ross wore the pants in the relationship, and honestly, he seemed to like it that way. He was her stability, her guide into adulting, her lobster, as Phoebe would say. Everything was perfect as long as Rachel's world revolved around Ross. But then came Bloomingdale's. Suddenly, Rachel wasn't just the pretty girl serving coffee. She had a career, responsibilities, late nights at the office. The power balance shifted, and Ross, he didn't handle it well, at all. Enter Mark Robinson, helpful, handsome, and everything Ross feared. Now, was Mark interested in Rachel? The show later confirms he was. But here's the thing, Rachel never saw him that way. Not once during their relationship did she give Ross any actual reason to distrust her. But Ross's jealousy wasn't really about Mark. It was about Ross losing his position as the center of Rachel's universe. The jealousy built across multiple episodes in season 3. Ross became that boyfriend, the one who shows up at her office with picnic baskets during work emergencies, the one who can't let her have one conversation without bringing up his insecurities. He was suffocating her, and everyone could see it except him. So we arrive at February 13th, 1997, their anniversary. Rachel has to work late. Ross shows up at her office uninvited with a picnic basket. They fight. Again. And this time, Rachel has had enough. Let's look at her exact words. Maybe we should just take a break. Rachel clarifies, a break from us. Now, people love to argue that a break doesn't mean broken up, but let's examine the immediate aftermath. Ross goes to the bar and tells Joey and Chandler, and I quote, "Instead of having an anniversary, we're breaking up instead. Not, we're taking some time, not, we're working through something, breaking up." His friends try to convince him he's being ridiculous, but in Ross's mind, the relationship was over. Meanwhile, Mark, who just happens to have ESP for when Rachel's vulnerable, calls and invites himself over. And here's where Rachel makes her critical error. She knows Mark is the source of Ross's jealousy. She knows how Ross feels about him. Whether or not she sees Mark romantically is irrelevant. You don't let the one person your maybe ex is paranoid about come over minutes after a potential breakup. When Ross calls to reconcile and hears Mark's voice, it confirms his worst fears. From his perspective, she immediately ran to the guy he'd been worried about. The break becomes a breakup, becomes a disaster. Was Ross wrong to sleep with the copy girl? Absolutely. It was impulsive, stupid, and fueled by too much alcohol and hurt feelings. But, and this is crucial, He did it as a single man, a freshly single, devastated, drunk single man making terrible decisions, but single nonetheless. Now, let's address the counter-arguments that always seem to come up. But he tried to hide it the next morning. Yes, he did, because he knew it would hurt Rachel, and he was hoping to reconcile. It was cowardly, but it doesn't change the relationship status at the time it happened. But Rachel's 18-page letter, front and back. The letter where she wanted him to take full responsibility for everything while taking none herself. The letter that completely ignored her role in the break. Ross was wrong to agree to it without reading it, but Rachel was wrong to demand he shoulder all the blame. And if you need a final authority on this matter, I present you with Hugh Laurie's character in The One with Ross's Wedding. When Rachel tries to explain the situation to him on the plane to London, this complete stranger immediately sides with Ross. If Dr. House says they were on a break, who are we to argue? But here's what often gets lost in this debate. Being technically right doesn't make Ross's behavior acceptable. His jealousy was toxic. His inability to trust Rachel was a self-fulfilling prophecy. He created the very situation he feared through his own insecurity and controlling behavior. The relationship was doomed not because of Mark, not because of Rachel's job, but because Ross couldn't handle not being the more successful one in the relationship. He couldn't handle Rachel having a life that didn't revolve around him. You know what's fascinating? This debate has outlived the show itself. It trends on Twitter every few months. There are TikToks dissecting every frame of that episode. In 2026, relationship experts still use Ross and Rachel as a case study in miscommunication. We've turned "We Were on a Break" into cultural shorthand for relationship gray areas. Maybe that's because we all recognize something uncomfortably real in this fictional argument. How many relationships end not with clear boundaries, but with confusion, with different interpretations of the same conversation? How many of us have been Ross, technically correct but emotionally wrong? How many have been Rachel, saying one thing but meaning another? They were on a break. Ross was right about that single technical point. But in every way that actually mattered, in trust, communication, emotional maturity, they were both wrong. And maybe that's why 30 years later, we're still arguing about it. Because it's never really about whether they were on a break. It's about whether being right is more important than being kind. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of TV's greatest debates, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to be notified every time I drop a new video here at The Confusing Middle.